And I see we are now streaming live on YouTube. So with that, I will call our meeting for Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022 to order. I'll begin with our usual call to order and note that we begin this meeting of council by acknowledging that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, and the Oneida and Haudenosaunee peoples. So moving on to item 2 tonight, that's approval of tonight's agenda. Recommendation reads that the agenda for the council meeting of February 22nd, 2022, too many 22s tonight, be approved as presented. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor Jansman. Any discussion on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Item 3, declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest tonight from members of council? Seeing none, 4 presentations, none this evening, no delegations tonight either. Under 5 minutes of the previous council meetings, we have 2 items there. Under 6.1 is from January 31st, 2022. The recommendation reads that the joint special council minutes, that's of course that joint special meeting with ourselves in the Township of Augusta. Those minutes dated January 31st, 2022 be accepted as presented. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Burton, seconded by Councilor McConnell. I think had his hand up. Excuse me. Sorry. Any discussion on that motion, that item? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. And one other set of minutes, of course, from our last council meeting, that's under 6.2. The minutes from February 7th, 2022. Recommendation reads that the council minutes dated February 7th, 2022 be accepted as presented. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councilor Ostrander, seconded by Councilor Young. Any discussion on that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. 7 communications and petitions, nothing tonight. Under consent reports, under 8, we do have the information package. So we'll just handle this as the one motion tonight. The recommendation reads that all items listed under the consent reports section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Did anyone want to refer any of those information package items onto staff for a subsequent meeting? Seeing none, I'll ask for a mover, please, that all items be accepted. Moved by Councilor Shankar, seconded by Councilor Burton. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks again, everyone. We're on to 9 committee reports, nothing tonight. 10 mayor's portion of this evening, not a whole lot. Just wanted to note my attendance at the Joint Services meeting on February 8th. We discussed a number of items, didn't get back to the full budget deliberations yet, but that will be coming shortly. Much of the meeting was taken up with discussions on paramedic and ambulance issues, as I mentioned at our last meeting. Not like any big final decisions there, but we've got some ideas for some direction and how we're going to go to try to rectify some of the response times issues, especially going into North Leeds. Also attended that Prescott Augusta meeting of our task force. That was Friday, February 11th, attended with Councilor Shankar as the other council representative and our CIO, Matthew Armstrong, with our friends from Augusta. Very good meeting. That is coming up a little later on, though, as well. Some potential action as a result of some recommendations from that meeting. But again, another very good meeting with our friends and colleagues from Augusta. Also wanted to note I attended the Augusta Winter Carnival and represented the town there this past Saturday. Great turnout there as well, and they're opening their new disc golf course right beside the Merck Hall. So really good to represent the town there, and it was great to see so many people out enjoying the Family Day weekend. And of course, speaking of the Family Day weekend, I was down at our family Fun Day event at the Leo on I guess it was just yesterday now. A tremendous turnout. Want to congratulate Samantha and the whole team and all our sponsors for putting on such a tremendous event. It's been a while since I've seen that many families and that many children out to an event in Prescott. It was really heartening to see that. So many enjoying the wide range of activities. And it also exposes more people to what we do have to offer now at the Leo Boyven Community Center without the ice. Some people do just think it's a closed building anymore without that ice surface, but nothing could be farther from the truth. We're offering all kinds of indoor recreational activities there, and we're looking to just bolster those efforts as we go forward. So Sunday was a great way to celebrate Family Day, but also a great way to showcase the Leo Boyven Community Center and what we're going to be offering there from now on. So again, thanks to our staff, thanks to our sponsors, thanks to everyone else on council. I think pretty much everybody helped out there and dished out the hot dogs and hot chocolate and took part. So it was a great team effort all the way around, and really great to see. And I hope everyone had a fantastic Family Day weekend. Great way to cap it off at the Leo. And that's all I have for past events. I will note I've got a St. Lawrence Corridor meeting, our monthly meeting coming up tomorrow as well. That'll be some good update information on what's happening there with the corridor that we'll bring back to council at our next meeting. So with that, I will finish up this evening and move on to 11 outside boards, committees, and commissions, and start as always with Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Family Day was extraordinary. Bunch of family members from all over with their children, with their grandparents, came to check out all the activities at the Leo, hanging out at around the fire pits and playing some road hockey outside. And I had the pleasure of serving some hot dogs and hot chocolate and some drinks to the families and children. Lots of grateful residents and thankful residents. And they were so gracious. They were, well, how much is it today? And I said, well, it's put on by the town. And they were like, well, we'd like to donate. And so we had some really great donations, was very unexpected. And I heard a lot of people inside, especially some parents, and they're like, well, I haven't been in here lately, and there's a lot of different lines on the floor. And I said, yeah, we have a lot going on here. And they were just so super surprised, and all the things that the Leo Community Center has to offer. So but I just want to congratulate our town staff and Samantha and operations department and our volunteers, and our fire department was there as well. So the chief, I put him to work behind the table with me for a bit. So he was happy about that. But kudos to everybody, and what a great day. What a great day in our town. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Burton. Councillor McConnell, sorry, Councillor Chansman, please. And welcome back.
Thank you. It's very nice to be back. I want to just take a minute to thank everybody for their support, and very grateful for IT. So I was able to keep up with all that was going on, and a thank you to staff too for allowing me to stay in regular communication with them. And so all good. Thank you. As far as the BIA is concerned, I have some exciting news. They had an election a couple of weeks ago at their meeting, and Kevin could no longer be the chair as in accordance to the bylaws. So we certainly thank him for his leadership. But Tracy Young has now taken the chair position, so that's very happy for her. No doubt she would do a very good job. And Karen Martin took the treasurer's position. So they're an active bunch, so we're going to see a continued high activity from them, no doubt. Just to echo some comments already about the fun day, I liked that, Augusta had theirs on Saturday. We had ours on the actual Monday. So because it was very much a regional thing, and so that worked out very well. And to showcase the Leo, for what the mayor said, for all kinds of activities, but possibly birthday parties and that kind of thing. So it was a great opportunity for everybody to see that the Leo is far from not being active. That building will continue to be very active. So that's great. Anyway, thank you to the staff for putting on such a great day and giving up their family day. So that's it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jansen. Councillor McConnell, please. And
Thank you,
Gesundheit.
Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Todd. I had two functions that I attended last week. One was a library board meeting, which was very nice to actually have in person for a change. It's nice to interact with the other board members, no matter what board that you're on. And I'm looking forward to when council gets back to in-person meetings again. We had a couple of main things we discussed. One was a personnel issue, and we discussed broadening what we lend at the library. What we're going to do immediately is start lending puzzles as well as books and movies. The library staff is quite excited about it. So if you have any puzzles out there that you want to divest yourself of, the library would be more than happy to take them. And if you're the type of person that likes doing puzzles, by all means, stop into the library and you can book a puzzle out for a period of time at no charge. The second activity I attended was on behalf of Walker House. Walker House, under the direction of Mary Campbell, rented the curling club for an afternoon, and we had a number of people from Walker House who would like to try curling come over. Some of these people had curled years before. Some of them had never curled before, but they all had one thing in common: the fact that if they had to bend down and lift or push a rock, they weren't able to play. So they were introduced to the stick, which has been a piece of equipment that has been utilized by curlers for many, many years now. And you can play the game quite successfully by pushing the rock with the stick rather than having to bend over and put pressure on your knees or your hips, which might not be able to take it. It went very well. We're planning on having another one. I believe it is the 18th of March. So if anybody is watching from Walker House, wasn't aware of it, would like to try it, you're more than welcome to come out. Just sign up for it. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's the 18th of March, and we're going to have a bit of a dinner after, which would be nice. I also attended the family day down at the arena and was very, very pleasantly surprised at the quantity of people that I saw down there. Tremendous number of kids, parents, grandparents, and I'm not going to belabor the comments that were made by the previous two councillors, just to say that I am very happy with staff for having organized it, and I'm very glad that a lot of people come out and enjoyed it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Todd.
Thank you very much, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Ostrander, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't go on and on about yesterday. It was a great day for everybody, but I think the one big helper we had was the weatherman. We caught a break for sure yesterday. It was a much nicer day. We're back to freezing rain and winter that we've come to know more commonly now today. No, it was a great event. Nice to see the families out. Sometimes they had 2 and 3 and 4 kids with one family out and enjoying themselves. And it's probably nice for them to get out of the house, for a full afternoon and really take in what was offered. So kudos to Sam and all our helpers, myself included, and everybody did a little bit, and it came off very well. The key now will be to follow it up with an equally good event sometime, and we'll see what we can come up with. But anyway, great event. That's about the height of my community activities in the past 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever. So anyway, thanks anyway.
Thanks very much, Mike. And on to Councillor Shankar, please. Good evening.
Good evening. So I think everyone of council was there and most of the staff. So it was a great day and look forward to the next one. Well done to everyone that was involved. Also, big shout out in changing the location. I think that was a great move, and even that location seemed to work really well with traffic and being able to support that many families that were able to come out. So that worked out really well. And Mike, good job on the hot chocolate there. You did a good job. Other than that, like the task force meeting, nice to see Mayor Malanka there, and Brett, that was great that you were at theirs on Saturday. And it shows we call that the cross advertising of both events. So we help them, they help us get more people involved, show Augusta that they're welcome. Everyone's welcome to use our facilities. So I think that was great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Corey. And last and never least, Councillor Young, please.
Well, thank you, Brett. I was there yesterday with full intentions of helping, but I'm on the injury reserve list and wound up being pampered by Councillors Burton and Jansman. They looked after me, served me hot chocolate and whatever, and allowed me to sit by one of the pits and enjoy the company of the Jansman family mostly. I don't know whether we're going to hear from Sam later on about the numbers, but it would not surprise me if we were in the 400, 300, 400 range. It just seemed to be crowded, but not crowded all day long. And it was a wonderful event. Of course, the Jasmine family alone would have 75 people there. Anyway, it was a wonderful afternoon. The weather was great, and I enjoyed the day very much. I attended the St. Lawrence Lodge Board of Management meeting this morning. We still have a number of people who are quarantined, and we're still in that state right now at the lodge. Hopefully that will be short-lived, but at this moment we are in that state. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ray. And since we have all discussed this, and we're going to be going with Samantha in a moment anyways, but let's start off with Sam, any comments on yesterday? I mean, you've heard great feedback here, and I'm sure tremendous feedback in the public as well. Everybody just seemed to have a fantastic time yesterday.
Yesterday was just such a good day. It was just a feel good. It was so nice to see the community come together in celebration, especially after the last little while that we've had. I do have working with staff on this event was incredible. The pivot, as we said, to the change of location, not only showcased the Leo and all that we had to offer, but it was such a team effort. Every single department weighed in on that, from bylaw and fire to administration and economic development and operations, of course. So it was very much a team effort in that regard. I think it was Leanne who touched on the donations. We unexpectedly received donations throughout the day for a total of $383. Connect Youth was there all day. They ran their own activity, and that table that they were at never stopped. There was kids there all day, and that was really great to see. In terms of the numbers, I have to count the forms that we had filled out, but I can tell you that we had a total of 210 hot dogs, and they were gone by 2:45. We went through 3 carafes of hot chocolate that was generously donated by Tim Hortons. And I don't know how many cups of hot chocolate are in each carafe, but I can find that out. So I can come back with information on that, as well as how many people filled out the forms as they were coming inside. And we also had people filling out forms outside because we had some of the equipment from our lending library, like toboggans and snowshoes, available for people to use. And I know that my kids took full advantage of that. So that table ended up being quite active later in the afternoon as well.
Great stuff again. Thanks for the impromptu report on that. Sorry to put you on the spot, but it was such a great day, and it's always good to celebrate when we pull something off this successfully. You did a tremendous job, and actually, I think we actually lucked out with the weather change. I think because we were able to do so much more at that building, and it is kind of even more of an eye opener of what we really have at that building and what we can turn it into as we move forward with planning these events, working with other agencies, other groups, and partnering with the Township of Augusta as well, as I think we're really laying the groundwork there for some more shared events. So great stuff all the way around. So thanks again for everything yesterday, and thanks to all the sponsors and everybody that helped out. I'm not going to try to list everyone because I'm sure I'll miss some, but thanks again, Sam. And with that, though, we'll move on, and we're going to go right back to Samantha with 12.1 at Staff Report 17-2022. The LG Small Business and Trade Show facility fee. They're looking for a waiver request. I also want to welcome Dave Annable from LG Approved. Good to see you here tonight, Dave. And so he'll be available to answer any questions if anyone has anything after we proceed with the motion and the staff report. So the recommendation reads that staff be directed to waive the facility fee of the Leo Boyven Community Center on Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022, and Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022 for the setup days of the LG Small Business and Trade Show, known as LGS BTS in the report. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Shankar, seconded by Councillor Burton. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Samantha to take us through a report.
So since we implemented the fee structure for 2022, we've discussed that organizations and individuals can come forward to request a facility fee waiver, rental fee waiver. In the past, it was decided that at a past meeting, it was decided that should an organization or an event meet the criteria of the community grant application, staff would be able to handle that request. If in the event that they do not meet that community grant criteria, they then must present the fee waiver directly to council. We knew that this is the first time that this has happened. It is something that we had discussed in the past, and the LG Business and Trade Show is the first one of 2022 to come forward with this facility fee waiver request. So this is an event that has run out of the Leo in the past. I don't believe it happened last year due to the pandemic, but Dave can speak to that. I do know that in past years, the trade show has paid the entire rental fee for the facility on the days that it was open to the public, and they were granted a fee waiver on their setup days. So they are requesting the same thing to happen this year. From a financial perspective, what they're looking for in terms of setup is 2 days, and that would be the full day facility rental rate, as no other programming could take place. We do now offer regular programming out of the Leo, so those programs would have to be either canceled or repositioned elsewhere. So there are 2 days that would cancel programming. That would be Tuesday, March 22nd and Wednesday, March 23rd, that they're requesting the facility fee waiver for. That is a total of $880 plus HST, but they would then be paying the full facility rental rate from Thursday, March 24th to Saturday, March 26th. And that is a total of $1,640 plus HST. As mentioned, and it says in the report, this would cause regular programming to be rescheduled or canceled. Those cancellations or reschedules would be regular pickleball on the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 2 Connect youth programs on the Wednesday and Friday, as well as the regular walking club on the Friday morning.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Sorry?
No, I was going to say that covers everything that was in that report.
Thank you very much. I will open it up for comments, questions from council first, and then I'll go to Mr. Annable if he has anything he'd like to add to respond to anything tonight, but I'll open it up for questions. Don't everyone rush at once. Councilor McConnell and then Councilor Shankar, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I have a question, and I'm not sure you can answer it off the top of my head. I think this would go to either Samantha or Matthew, but the rental amount that we have for a day, do we have a breakdown on that? Is it so much for the building and so much for staff, or is it just one amount? Or can anybody answer that?
So in terms of how we rate created the structure, it was to offset both the staff and building costs. So it averages out. Every single event is slightly different. Some will require more staff than others. But what we tried to do is take a look at it from an average perspective and then be able to move on from there. So certainly on the 2 days of setup, on I believe the Thursday in particular, or Wednesday in particular, they will have to have staff in the building and help supporting. Not a lot of staff in support on the Tuesday while the curtains are being set up. So, but yeah, to answer your question, it's kind of an all-in rate and something we looked at from an averaging perspective.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anything further, Wade?
No, it's an awkward time to talk about this when we have somebody sitting in front of us looking for an exception. I would like to see us put this on the agenda for, I know we've discussed it in other years and staff came up with that amount and we approved it, but I think it's time we took another look at it. We're very shortly going to be coming up with a very large arena that we're going to be renting out for a variety of things. That's our new rink. And I can recall one of our previous directors of Public Works telling us when we were looking at the Leo and setting rates on it, that the biggest loss any community takes in a year is their arena. We have been, I don't know if I would call it lucky, in the last couple of years under COVID. We haven't taken a loss on an ice rink, but we will in a reasonable period of time in 2023 be taking that loss again, hopefully with a state-of-the-art building. That loss will be minimized, but as has been mentioned here many times, whether we can afford to keep the Leo going at the same time is going to depend on how much money the building brings in, and of course, whether it needs any major repairs. I suspect as long as it doesn't need any major repairs, we'll keep it limping along. And for times like we had yesterday, it's just a wonderful facility that we haven't had available to us before. So what I discussed with another member at the event yesterday, and I'm not going to mention who it was because I don't want to put them on the spot, was possibly splitting the fee so that we have the amount for the building and the amount for the staff. And when people come to us looking for a donation, then I think maybe the building, if we feel that it is worthwhile, we would give free. But I think we should be recouping the staff time. So that was my reason for the question, whether we actually have a dollar figure. Apparently we don't. It's based on how many staff we need at the time. But I think it would be interesting to find out. I mean, we gave it to them the last time they held it there under the same circumstances that they're asking for now. I'm not going to suggest we do any different this time, but I am suggesting that we bring it back for discussion and come up with, well, we have a firm policy now, but it's kind of wishy-washy because it depends on who asks and what it's for. And I think we should come up with a little better policy. Thank you, Mayor Todd.
Thank you very much, Councilor McConnell. Staff, any comment on that with regards to, I guess, being a little more specific with the numbers in the policy? Is that readily doable?
We haven't seen that type of thing in the past, but certainly we can take a look at it from another municipality's perspective and just see what might be out there and then bring something back to council if that's what you'd like.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, I'll just put it out there just as a friendly, I don't see anyone shaking their heads on this one. So I think Councilor McConnell is probably probably a pretty good point we can all agree upon. It just goes into reviewing all our fees every on a regular basis as well. So we can make sure to look at this in the future. It's a good point to make sure our costs are covered. So if we just leave that with staff then, and we'll make sure that's brought back in the not too distant future for a look-see. Councillor Shankar, please.
Thank you. Are we allowed to ask questions of Dave?
Yeah, as long as everyone's okay with it, I'll certainly allow it. It's good for Dave to come out tonight and answer. So please go ahead.
Okay, so thanks for being here, Dave, and thank you for bringing such a big event to our town. A couple of questions just for the audience at home and for everyone else. When you ran this same event 2 years ago, I don't remember the exact number of people that went through the building. That's my first question. The second question is, you also were taking in a door fee, which you donated out as well. So can you just tell us a little bit about both of those questions?
Yeah, we had 2,800 people come through, and we donated 50% went to operation costs, kind of what Councillor McConnell is talking about. We had to divvy it up between our staff and the town, but I believe we donated close to $1,600 or $1,700 to rebuild the rink.
Yeah, so that's great. So I mean, if we're giving you a $880 break and you're going to turn around and make a donation to building the rink, I think that kind of offsets one or the other, in my opinion. So I speak in favor of this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shankar, and thanks as well for the added information, Mr. Animal. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Jansman, please, and then Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mayor and Todd. Thank you, Dave, for, as Gory mentioned, for bringing this great event, a busy event to the Leo. Well attended, all that kind of stuff. Samantha, perhaps a unfair question. Pickleball is kind of used to being bumped a little bit with the vaccination clinics and that kind of thing, but Connect Youth, have you had a chance yet to see how much of an inconvenience it is for them, or is that something that they can bounce back? They'll play on words. Bounce back. Pickleball bounce. Anyway.
It's not. It hasn't been something that that I have discussed with Connect Youth at this point. But I wanted to see how tonight was going to go. I would like to be able to have to look at the schedule, but if it's possible for them to potentially adjust spaces to the Ruth Evanson room for those particular dates, that could be a possible location solution.
Wonderful. That's hopeful. Okay, thank you.
Thank you both very much. And on to Councillor Young, please.
Thank you, Brett. It seems to me that these fees were discussed back in January, wasn't it? Or maybe December. It wasn't all that long ago that we set these fees, and that's when we should have been delving into more detail, how the fees were established and so on. It's a shame that we have to do it tonight. However, I think this is a good compromise, and I can live with this, and I will vote in favor of it.
Thanks very much, Councillor Young. Any other comments? Don't see any others. Mr. Annable, anything you'd like to add tonight to just give you one opportunity to have a last word here?
Yeah, not even last word. I'll agree with Mr. McConnell. I mean, we're all operating a business, whether you're a town or an organization like Ontario Approved. So I was attending tonight more for the questions and to have Sam's back. She's been great working with us and getting her feet wet with this return of the show that has been gone for 2 years. But what I was going to allude to, Mr. Mayor, is, I mean, we're good with whatever the town wants to do. The setup days are a wash because there's no, as a business from my end, there's no revenue, and we need the time to set up a facility, and we're expanding a day, and the fees have went up, pre-COVID to now. So But I mean, if there's fees at the end of the day, it lessens the donation, right? So I think Councillor Shankar was right. Like, it's kind of one or the other. We're open to support the town with this event, and we're a month away, so the ball's rolling. Whatever the town decides at whatever time, Ontario approved professionals are there to support the town, and I'm not worried about bailing on any fees or making an agreement at some point before, after, or tonight, or a month from now. It doesn't bother me. We're there for you guys.
Thanks, Dave. And I just on my own behalf, I did want to thank you for bringing this event to us. So we were very happy that you moved it to the town a few years ago. And of course, we have had the unfortunate interruption provided by COVID, like it's interrupted so many other things. But, you know, Councillor McConnell has an excellent point on maybe trying to refine a little bit of how we approach this, just to make sure we're doing full cost recovery. I have full support of this year, of course, because it's been an incredibly challenging time for small business. And I think this is a way for us to give back a little bit and also receive quite a bit, and a tremendous show for our small business and for the community overall. It's great to have an event like this. So I of course fully support this tonight, but I do think it's, by the time next year rolls around, there'll have to be maybe a further discussion about how we look at things just as we get out of COVID and we get past, hopefully, this really a challenging period of time. So with that, I don't see any other hands up, so I will return to the motion and call the question. All those in favor? Thanks, everyone. Motion is carried. Thanks again for stopping by tonight, Dave. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
And we're now on to 12.2, that's staff report 18-2022. This is on the Augusta Prescott Joint Economic Development Initiatives that were proposed by the task force last Friday, that are going to both councils. So the recommendation is that council directs staff to inform a package for potential developers to include servicing agreements, planning, synchronization, and engineering requirements, and that council directs staff to prepare and share an inventory of recreation and tourism assets to facilitate coordination of inventories and cross-promotion of advertising and said events, and that special joint meetings of the Augusta and Prescott councils be scheduled for March 28th, 2022 to be held at a venue in Augusta, and May 30th, 2022 to be held at a venue in Prescott. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Ostrander, seconded by Councillor Shankar. Mr. Armstrong, any comments here?
So I can just touch on it briefly. So the Joint Task Force did meet, really talking about the outcomes and information that was provided at the Joint Council meeting from January 31st. And what you see before you is kind of some of the recommendations that came out of that. So really focusing on developing that developers package that we can hand to interested developers, and that would have all the information in terms of servicing, the ability to what exactly types of density and housing or commercial activities can occur on various pieces of land. So that's kind of the first initiative. And the second one is also came out of the information provided by the consultants, that really taking a look at all of our assets, not just assets of the municipality, but things like Parks Canada and the Fort, you know, the great waterway that both municipalities are fortunate to have in their locales, and then everything along the way in terms of parks, municipal facilities, hotels, motels, that type of thing. So really that's the starting is going down the path of being able to build not only that package for developers, but something that we can also hand to residents and visitors, so they know exactly what they can do, when, and how, and enjoy the facilities and amenities that are available in both Augusta and Prescott. In terms of the two council meetings, want to make sure that we keep this front and center for both councils. And so I did have a follow-up email last week that March 28th might not be, maybe sometime in that week as opposed to Monday, just because it collides with a meeting for Augusta Council. But May 30th is the 5th Monday in May, so there was nothing previously scheduled, and that was thinking around that. So.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you for that report, Matthew. I'll go to Councillor Shankar first as the other member of the task force before I open it to all. Gory, any comments on what's being recommended here this evening?
I think it's great that we're actually scheduling these meetings and we're putting them down. We're putting them add them in our calendars so that we've got goals to set and and achieve them. So it's not something that, as I'm learning, that takes a long time to produce. At least we have these meetings. We've got work to do in between. So I'm all in favor of this, and it's starting to show. It's starting to show. So it's good.
Thank you. Open up for comments, questions from the rest of council this evening. Doesn't look like someone always puts their hands up the moment I'm about to. Lee, okay, go ahead, please, Councilor.
Well, nobody else was going to talk, so I thought I better get something in there. I have a question that perhaps Brett, you or Gory or Matthew can answer. The two large pieces of property between Prescott and Merwin Lane, have the owners of those properties had any part in the discussion as far as development goes over there? Have they been contacted at all? Do we know anything about how they, what their interest is?
We can certainly gain that information for you in preparation of our next joint meeting.
I think there has been some dialogue, but it's between Augusta and the developers. We haven't had any contact with them formally or informally. But I do think Augusta's had some discussion, but I can't comment on what that's involved, of course. So I don't know.
Thank you. I would have thought Augusta would, but I didn't know whether we were party to that discussion or not. And there's also I guess you might say, the elephant on the other side of the room, that is the proposed water park. If you have a contractor that is considering developing homes and a considerable number of homes, the fact that somebody may be developing a water park right across the street from it, I think should enter the discussion as well. So I think maybe the owner of that property should be party to any development discussion over there too. But again, that's for another day. I was just curious.
No, absolutely, very good question, and it's definitely something that I'm sure we'll be able to get some more information on shortly. Any other comments from members of council this evening? Not seeing any, but I'll just note that essentially this meeting was just a follow up from what we talked about at the joint meeting. That whole idea of the package for potential developers, I mean, that's sort of the ground floor of anything we're going to try to do here, because we're going to have to synchronize our planning, our OPs. Augusta may have to look at an amendment there to their OP rather than the full process if we're going to really move forward on this in the months and even the next year or so to come, because a full OP review and a complete new OP is a pretty lengthy task. But they definitely seem great partners across the table, across the board. I'm not going to speak for their council here tonight, but they definitely, the mayor and the deputy mayor at these task force meetings, they've been fantastic and have been very open to different ideas and concepts. But this is just essentially, we still have to do some homework on this. So if this is approved this evening, staff will take it and come back to the task force, and then we'll end up looking at how we implement some of this. Staff can hopefully do some of it, but of course, when you're dealing with major planning and servicing agreements and so forth, that's when we start getting into things that are going to cost the municipalities a couple of bucks with regards to, we're going to need legal, we're going to need engineering and so forth as we go down the road. But the sooner we get to this, the better chance we'll be able to properly deal with the development inquiries, which I think we're all very hopeful and very optimistic will come shortly as it gets out more and more that Prescott and Augusta are working together and we're open for business. Any final comments before I call the question? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. And speaking of regional cooperation, another one this evening that, of course, involves Augusta, ourselves, and Edwardsburg Cardinal. We have 12.3 staff report 19-2022 on River Route Transit, establishing it as an ongoing municipal service. The recommendation reads that council approve establishing the River Route Transit as an ongoing municipal service, and that we reallocate $31,500 from the annual fiscal policy reserve contribution to the River Route Transit budget, and that council directs staff to develop a formalized terms of reference for the participating municipalities outlining the scope, structure, route expectations, measurable outcomes, evaluation methods, financials, and a standardized reporting mechanism. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Jansman, seconded by Councillor Young. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Armstrong for his report. Matt?
Thank you very much. So in a further conversation to the information provided 2 weeks ago, we want to bring it back, kind of summarize exactly where we are and how we can move forward. I think we're very pleased with the indications from both Brockville and Edwardsburg Cardinal that I think they're looking to move forward and should be passing those indications this evening. Augusta is still in the course of their conversations of being able to move forward as well, and we look forward to the outcome of those conversations from this evening as well as their next meeting. So we, as part of trying to look forward, I provided some of the information from both the public and the business survey, certainly in support of being able to move this forward. In terms of the ridership, I was able to show that by the end of January, it's starting to come back up, and the first couple of weeks of February is also improving. And then in the last, from the 7th to the 11th, we were almost back to our pre-Omicron regulations and restrictions. So that's also good to see. Financial implications, we did discuss at our last meeting, and if the three municipalities were to split the cost going forward for the remainder of 2022, it would be a total of $68,000 between the three municipalities, or $22,000 each. And then going forward next year, it would be for 2023 for the entire year, $83,000 or $27,000 each. In terms of how that will exactly be split, remains to be part of the conversation. And really, Edwardsburg Cardinal CIO grant provided the second part of that recommendation to move beyond just the pilot, but let's have a formalized relationship. Exactly who meets when do we report back to council on how our progress is, both financially and from a ridership perspective, as well as making sure that we are defining exactly what success looks like. And so creating a goal for the remainder of 2022, as well as going into 2023 and moving that forward. From a financial perspective, each year we put $101,500 into our fiscal policy reserve. My recommendation is to take $31,500 of that and move it into the transit, which would leave $70,000 as a contribution on a yearly basis. So this would not detract from our bottom line. It's able to redistribute that contribution to reserve and be able to support this on an ongoing basis without having to increase municipal taxes. At the same time, I think there was some indication from Brockville City Council that over the longer term, we'll have to take a look at the capital funding for a bus. In the meantime, we will continue using the used buses that City of Brockville will be replacing. When that's no longer feasible, then we'll have to take a look at what does that capital look like. The federal government just recently announced a new program that they're making permanent, and I believe it's funding for about $3 billion a year for rural transit, public transit, and they would cover 80% of not only purchasing of buses, but actually the infrastructure to support bus stops, and as well as in additional things like GPS or payment systems. So that's certainly on the table, and the first wave of that is April 7th, but it is an ongoing process that they've committed through 2027 and onwards. And so that's certainly something that we could look for from a capital perspective when that time comes. So that's really the report that I want to give this evening to hopefully be able to inform a decision that as we move forward. And I think there's overwhelming public support to be able to really see this as an ongoing municipal service. And we certainly thank all of our partners in the city of Brockville, Augusta, as well as Everest Cardinal to really bring this to fruition, because without that, those three other groups, as well as the town of Prescott, this wouldn't have been made possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. I will open up to comments, questions from members of council this evening. Councillor Shankar, please. Then Councillor McConnell.
Ooh, I got ahead of Councillor McConnell.
Had to be quick.
I will be. Excellent report, Matthew. You put it in a lot of numbers here, but you put it in simple form for most of us, so that's great. I was a little confused why 31.5, but I think it's just to make a round number of what's left over then, if we don't need that much. And I'm pleasantly surprised that it's not a huge contribution from our part. So I'm really hoping that the other municipalities get on board with this. There's been nothing but positive feedback despite the weather, despite COVID and everything. So good job. Looks good. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Gory. Councillor McConnell, please.
Thank you very much, Mayor Todd. I was pleased to see the word ongoing in that motion rather than the word permanent. Unfortunately, the word permanent has been bandied around in correspondence in the newspaper, and there has been some negative public comment based on that word. I was greatly in favor of this when it was proposed. I'm still in favor of it, but it's one of those things, use it or lose it. If the ridership does not show that it is required, needed, then we cannot vote to continue supporting it. It wouldn't make sense. This up till, well, I guess it's the 25th of this month, is an experiment, and it's an experiment that we are in favor of continuing. But in my own mind, I believe that we were discussing continuing this till the end of 2022. Now, Matthew's talking into 2023. I'm not prepared to go that far. I'm very happy to see some money shifted, not adding to the tax burden, for us to be able to continue this experiment until the end of 2022. But as we all know, there's going to be 4 new councils taking office in well, the election is in October, so they'll be taking office in November sometime. But those councils are going to decide whether this goes forward or not. And some of us may be on those councils, some of us may not. And as I'm sure you're aware, all it takes is 1 or 2 people who are new to something and have a different opinion to change an entire perspective on something. So while I am very much in favor of this, while I'm very much in favor of it continuing for this year, I want to make it very clear that I am not in favor of committing any resources, any cost to this in 2023 without a report coming back to the new council to give them the proper statistics, the proper figures, so that they can make a decision whether they want to commit the town's funds to it in a future year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Just one comment for staff. We don't have any firm dates in the recommendation. So in regards to Lee's comments about the date there, Matt, can you comment on that, on where we actually are in terms of we extend tonight? We are talking, we are talking an ongoing municipal service. What does ongoing mean?
So very much to kind of what the timing you're referring to. So ongoing just means that it's not a pilot anymore. It's something that we're saying we're going to put money behind and move forward with. The provincial funding year runs, I believe, from April 1st to March 31st, and that will likely be a timing that we'll have to align with as part of our agreement with the province. So to say that we would run it at least till March 31st of 2023. Each year, we are required to pass a bylaw that says we're committed to supporting that ongoing service.
Okay, that actually does make it quite a bit clearer then with regards to the extension for the year. Councillor McConnell, do you have any further comment?
Yes, that would be acceptable to me. The fact that it is looked at again and not just, in other words, I don't want to commit a future council to many years of possible losses on a bus service. I think they should have that decision for themselves. However, I realize that government year end is not the same as our year end. And if that takes it to the end of March of 2023, I'm quite happy to commit us to that date. But I'm going to take Matthew at his word. And if I don't happen to be on council at the end of March in 2023, you're going to find me in the audience, because I am very serious about us not committing past that date without another look at by council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Jansman, did I miss anyone else? I think I've got everyone so far, but if I missed a hand, please don't be shy and let me know. So start with Councillor Jansman again.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Thank you, Matthew, for your report. I in particular, the financial applications portion of your report that indicated that the gas tax program, the funding is only for ongoing programs and not pilot programs. So that's key, but I'm a big supporter of this program, and I was very pleased to hear that the indication is anyway that the other municipalities are also excited about this program as well. So I'm definitely in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jansman. Other comments, questions from members of council tonight? Don't see anything else. Just wanted to add, I still fully support this, of course. I thank Matthew for really knocking on some doors and really looking around. This federal rural transit solutions fund could really potentially solve that issue with Brockville. We're going to run into with a bus at some point, because that's when we're starting to talk about more significant dollars. The one thing I will say to anyone out there who is concerned about the money being put into this program right now, we're talking ongoing and we're talking operations. We're not talking huge dollars into a bus or structures, shelters, anything of the sort. So it's not anything that we actually can't, and goes to Councillor McConnell's comment, that we can't back away from if the numbers simply do not warrant the continuation of this service. It really is going to have to still be a use it or lose it thing. And I hope it very much is use it at the end of the day, because I think Prescott, Brockville, Cardinal, Maitland, I think our river area here needs a service like this. And I think Leeds Grenville needs a service like this. And beyond that, I think Eastern Ontario does. If we're going to start playing in the big leagues and start attracting serious employers here and developing a lot of these rural residential areas, which we really need all across Leeds Grenville to get over the housing crisis and to get over the stagnancy we've seen in population growth the last 25 years in Leeds Grenville, we need to embrace things like this. So I'm really glad we're on the on the forefront of this, and we're pushing it. I hope we have our partners after tonight. I know it is coming up at Edwardsburg Cardinal shortly. I think it's on Augusta's agenda tonight, Mr. Armstrong, as well. Are they meeting this evening? I think Doug did mention that one to me as well. So I hope we do have support there, and I hope things work out well with Brockville as well. This is, to me, it's something that could be pivotal for the region, but we do have to get the numbers up. There's no one signing a blank check on this tonight. So I just want to let everyone know out there, because I have heard some comments about the viability of this just with the number of riders. But at any rate, any further comments from anyone tonight before I call the question? Seeing none, so I will call the vote. All in favor? The motion is carried. It's interesting that all four of us are actually meeting and discussing this topic tonight. So we'll have a really good idea at the end of this evening where we are in all of this. So moving along, we are on to 12.4, that staff report 20-2022 one-ton regular cab truck purchase. Recommendations that council directs staff to proceed with the procurement of a one-ton truck with a dump box with an upset limit of $100,000. Could I ask for a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Young, seconded by Councillor McConnell. So I will, Mr. Richard, I believe that's your report tonight. Do you want to just take us through the highlights of that quickly, please?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Mayor Todd, for that the introduction. So it's a pretty straightforward report. The town has a one-ton larger truck with a dump box on it that's used for a whole bunch of different miscellaneous activities that are quite useful for staff to move around soil and leaf the leaves in the fall and do the brush trimming and periodically through the months as well. And then also lots of gardening activities. So in 2022, we're looking to get approval for an upset limit of $100,000 to replace that truck, as it's a 2008, so it's 14 years old, and anybody that's driving around in a vehicle that's 10 or 12 years old probably recognizes they're putting a lot of money into it, and that it seems like that the money that you put into it keeps the frequency gets closer and closer in those dates. So we did do floorboards last year due to excessive rusting. Recently, it's had a diagnosis that the head gasket has failed, and we've received 2 quotes at $6.5 thousand and $11.7 thousand. We're going to look at another option as far as that costing goes. So the other thing is that Brockville is doing a request for proposal and a tender to look at a couple one-ton trucks in March. So the timing could work out really well where they could assist us in the tendering process. And they're more than happy to assist us there. May save us a few bucks as well. Current delivery is about 32 to 38 weeks. Everything has got extended timelines now. So what we may do in the meantime is potentially get that truck repaired, depending on how we think what the cost would be and what we think the salvage value would be once the other new one shows up, or look at other options for the spring and summer months. Kind of look at what we really do use it for, where it adds value, and what we can, what options we have there. So the options are council could not proceed to purchase a one-ton truck at this time. The budget capital has $100,000 allocated for this purchase. Could be funded by 2 reserves, $20,000 from public works reserve, and the second would be $80,000 from the infrastructure reserve. The market value of the current truck, we're not 100% sure what it is, but it's a 2008 with 145,000 kilometers. It currently needs major repairs. So depending on if the repairs were done or not, I think it would land between 10 and 20,000 in a residual value. That is everything on this report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Richard. I'll open it up for comments, questions from members of council this evening. Seeing none, so I will proceed with the vote. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks again, Nathan. And we are on to now a 12.5 staff report 22-2022. It's a new human resource policy. The right to disconnect policy that this came down from the province a number of months ago. Recommendation reads that council approve human resources policy HR 600-09 right to disconnect policy. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Young, seconded by Councillor Burton. And Mr. Armstrong, I guess this is your report. Please take it away.
Thank you very much. So as part of Bill 27, Working for Workers Act of 2021, there was a requirement in there that all employers that have more than 25 employees shall, by March 1st, have a written policy when it comes to respect to right to disconnect. So we did do some research, as well as looking at our HR program that provides sample policies, that sort of thing, and reaching out to other municipalities to learn what they were doing. And that's how this particular policy was developed. Really what it comes down to is ensuring that an employee has the understanding that there isn't necessarily an expectation to have to respond 24 hours, 7 days a week. So certainly there's ebbs and flows to everyone's schedule and responsibilities and to the workload. But at the same time, this is something that the government feels very strongly that needs to be put in place to support the overall mental health, as well as making sure that people aren't burning out and are able to have some separation between their work life and their private life. And I think you've seen that with COVID, with a lot of people working from home, is that line is very much blurred sometimes. And so this is what we're putting forward this evening to be able to ensure that we're not only compliant, but able to support employee health and really fulfill or help fulfill some people's understanding of when they're expected to respond and when they can truly feel that they can disconnect and enjoy the other part of their personal life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong, for that report. I'll open it up to comments, questions. Councillor Burton and then Councillor Jansman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Thank you, Matthew, for the report. I think this is an important step. It's not to have staff, feel bad that they're not working extra hours, but it just gives them a time to say, it's okay to take a break. We have some dedicated staff in our ring right now, and I think it's important to pass this policy and let staff know, what, thank you for what you're doing during the day, but it's time to disconnect at night and enjoy time with your families. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Burton. Councillor Jansman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. I'm almost surprised that I'm very, very happy that the provincial government is it provincial, Matthew, or it's provincial? The provincial government is mandating this. It's really been it's overdue, right, for something like this to happen. So, but with that being said, is there any kind of provision for, like in our case, for instance, or any municipality, when the senior team, if something, literally blows up on a Saturday or off hours, is there a workaround that it's a on-call perhaps schedule, that kind of thing? You know what I'm getting at. How are we proposing to address that?
So certainly there's provisions within that policy that still shows the responsibility when there's an emergency situation. And we actually have an app called Who's Responding. And when there's an emergency situation, that app is activated, and all of those on the emergency response team would be able to be notified of that and are required to respond. So when it comes to an emergency where the town, the train event, if it had happened on a weekend or
right
during the night, absolutely would have been activated, and everyone has a responsibility to respond at that time. So that is absolutely still in there. And then I think one thing that we'll also make sure what we do is, there's still the ability when there is an issue or whatever that might be, that certainly myself or whoever is delegated that authority, they would still be able to be contacted and deal with issues as they arise. that doesn't change, and but it will force me to make sure that when I'm away on vacation, that sort of thing, that there is somebody formally delegated, and all of council is aware of who that is. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jansman. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? Thanks, everyone. And we are down to 12.6. That's staff report 22-2022. Riverwalk District Promenade installation. Recommendation reads that council approve the closure of Edward Street from King Street to Water Street occurring from June 25th to July 2nd and July 30th through August 6th during the summer of 2022 to accommodate the installation of a pedestrian mall pilot project to be known as the Riverwalk District Promenade. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Shankar, I think seconded by Councillor Ostrander. So Dana, I believe this is your report. If you want to take us into it, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, through you to council. So we've got a recommendation before you that came out of some recent discussions as part of our regular BIA Board of Director meetings. There was an idea brought forth by members to look at the possibility of emulating what's being done in some other communities that we've actually provided some links to those other projects that you can refer to as part of this report. So a lot of other communities have engaged in creating these pedestrian malls, promenade areas, which includes the closure of a street to accommodate that. So what we're proposing is a bit of a pilot project that would take place from June 25th to July 2nd and July 30th to August 6th. So it would encompass the Canada Day holiday weekend and the civic holiday weekends to create kind of a week-long celebration. The first one would also be part of the broader kickoff to summer in the Prescott Riverwalk district. So what we're proposing here would be closing a portion of Edward Street from King to Water Street for these periods to accommodate the installation of the pedestrian mall. And the area would be activated with a diverse range of entertainment and features, such as parquet, some bistro tables, seating, planters, greenery, some signage, and we'd also like to bring some of our farmers market elements into the area as part of that. So we would have some acoustic entertainment taking place. We would bring in some of our new propane fire pits into the evening hours that were just featured at the Great Family Fun Day event that was held yesterday. And bringing in some other family-friendly activities. Again, you know, some of the great activities that were featured as part of the event yesterday, we thought could make a great feature as part of the promenade to really engage families and local residents as well as visitors to come down to the area and enjoy the community and hopefully be encouraged to take a stroll throughout the downtown and shop at some of our businesses, experience some of the great dining options that we have to offer, and explore other areas of the community, such as our Riverwalk Park, Kelly's Beach area, and the fort, and some of the other great assets that we have throughout the community. So we thought this would be a great, just given the location, it's a really good central space to look at holding, you know, the first activation of this. You can actually see it when you, as soon as you hit the crest of the Edward Street Bridge coming down. So it would really, you think, you know, draw a lot of attention and traffic, as well as engage the marina boaters to come up into the downtown area. And then again, just engage our local residents in taking advantage of the great space that we have in that area. So we would look at doing some, it would be activated with things taking place throughout that full 2-week period. So it doesn't get to any point where it's stagnant or, you know, doesn't have a lot of activity going on, because we really want it to be used for the intended purpose throughout. And with, you know, the real goal here of creating, you know, a bit of a physical and visual gateway to the Riverwalk district and the downtown businesses, which would draw visitors and local residents to the area. So we thought it was a great idea that was brought forth at the BIA. Initially, they discussed the option of closing the street from May to September, essentially throughout that high tourism season that we have during the spring and summer months. And upon further consideration on the part of staff and doing some research of other municipalities that had engaged in this, we thought maybe the best approach for this initial foray into this promenade would be to look at a pilot project over a 2-week period this summer. And if it's deemed to be successful, we would put a lot of effort into tracking the impacts, the response of the community, impacts on businesses, and just feedback that we're getting from people that are using the space to come up with a more formal proposal for council consideration in 2023 that would hopefully look at an extended promenade area from hopefully May to September. So we thought this would be a great foray into that. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at some of the examples. And I'm not sure if I've got authorization here, but if I could just share my screen, then I can just bring up, we've actually, Justin St. Pierre, our business development officer, developed a really neat concept that it's a bit of a rendering that will give you a sense of what we would be proposing as part of the promenade. If I can just find it here. There we go. Okay, can you see the full, is that displaying properly? Okay, yes. So this gives you a sense of the space here that we're proposing. It would be called the Riverwalk District Promenade. And as you can see, it's, really, it's a lively space. It's been activated with people. We've got a musician there. We've got one of our parkettes that we're hoping to see funded through application to the CCRF fund. We've got, some great bistro tables, some beautiful greenery, and some signage. And of course, it's all fully accessible for those that may have mobility issues. And it's also, you're seeing a cyclist go by here to demonstrate our Ontario by Bike initiatives that we're also exploring in the downtown here to try and explore some cycle-friendly options. And we would also be proposing bike racks. And this is just a bit of a more detailed overhead view of the area, just to give you a sense of what would be taking place throughout here. So we thought it would really create a connection between the Riverwalk area and the Riverwalk Business District, and try to encourage more people to really take advantage of the great assets that we have here in the community. I think that covers the majority of the report. As far as cost, it would really be quite nominal, because what we're proposing here is a majority of infrastructure that would go into this space would actually be supported through our application to the CCRF fund. So, we've got some marketing communication expenses here with some additional infrastructure supports, all to the tune of about $3,000 to $4,000, with some internal labor requirements, of course, that are difficult to cost at this point. But there would definitely be some support requested from the operations department to support this recommendation that we're bringing forth tonight. And we were also considering approaching the BIA to consider providing some financial support as well to the project. And I'm happy to entertain any questions for, it's a lengthy report. I'm sure I missed some critical areas, so happy to entertain questions.
Thanks, Dana. I see Councillor Shankar has his hand up already, so we'll go right to Gory.
Dana, this is a great idea, and I know we've looked at this when we were thinking of taking out that sidewalk along that Edward Street. You think you're going to get any complaints from O'Heafey's? Because it looks like you've got bistro tables for people to take out, or are they, I mean, I think they'd be excited about having it right next to them, but do you foresee any trouble there?
Well, I think that's really the main thrust of why we were looking at bringing a pilot project over a 2-week period versus a full May to September closure. We recognize that, you know, given the adjacent businesses in the area, there could be some potential impacts that would certainly need to be assessed, as well as mitigated as part of a longer term pilot. So we thought this would be a great way to get a sense of how the space would work in conjunction with those existing businesses, as well as ensuring that it's not being utilized for unintended purposes. One of the bigger issues that we discussed as part of this is ensuring that we can continue to accommodate deliveries for some of those adjacent businesses. We fully recognize, as you know, O'Heafey's would be one of the major ones that would be impacted by it, because they would have a significant number of deliveries coming through there during the week. But I think we could have some good conversations with those businesses and tenants that could potentially be impacted. Again, it is going to impact just, you know, local residents and employees in that downtown area and their day-to-day use of the roads. You know, we've spoken to a few individuals to date who would certainly have to change their day-to-day traffic patterns when it comes to the use of or connecting from Water Street to King and other areas throughout the community. And I think a lot of public education would be required as part of that too. So that was another factor that we recognized in maybe looking at this hybrid option versus going with a full out May to September closure. And certainly we would be relying on bylaw as well as part of this. I think, you know, they would have to be activated throughout this period, maybe even looking at making some adjustments to their shifts so they could be there during those late evening hours, just to ensure that, you know, there are no incidents that take place that could, you know, be a deterrent to the ongoing use or support of that installation. So definitely a lot of conversations and education required around it, but I think we've got a really good handle on what's required to make it successful. And I think with the support that we have of the BIA and the fact that this idea was, you know, really initiated by a board of directors that is comprised of several business owners within that area who are also have good relationships with adjacent business owners, I'm sure that they would be happy to support those ongoing conversations to try and get to as much buy-in early on as possible.
Thanks, Dana. Looks good.
Thanks very much, Councilor Shankar. Thanks, Dana. Councilor Burton next, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd, and thank you, Dana. I think this is a fabulous idea. I think it's going to be a go-to spot, actually, in the downtown. And I love the different links that you sent. I checked them all out, and they're well utilized. I think that you know, if we reach out to some organization, maybe the Folk Fest organizers, maybe they could you know, put on a little show and, you know, come and check that out, grab some lunch at a local restaurant and eat outside, enjoy some music or something like that. I mean, I think that's a fabulous idea, you know, with the water behind there, and I think it's going to be well utilized, and I think it's definitely going to be a go-to spot. So looking forward to being part of that. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Councilor Burton. Other comments, questions? Councilor McConnell, please.
Thank you, Mayor Todd. Given what's happened in downtown Ottawa over the last 3 weeks, I think we want to make sure we're not going to be inconveniencing our local business people by blocking off the street. We've all seen how that doesn't work out very well. I know I walk through there quite often, 2 or 3 times a day with the dog, and O'Heafey's very often has beer delivery on that side door. Their side door is used for deliveries quite often, so we would have to make sure that we didn't interfere with that, or they could accommodate the deliveries at a south door, because I don't think they could accommodate the deliveries at the north door. They're right on the corner there. WL Peters, of course, would have to be contacted as well, because they have large transports that unload on Water Street, and normally they come straight down Edward and around the corner. So accommodation would have to be made there. And as you know, I'm council's appointee to the Shakespeare Board. Shakespeare is right now in the process of organizing a huge summer of entertainment that is going to be very well received, I'm sure. So we wouldn't want any musical interlude after 6 o'clock in that area that would interfere with the entertainment at the amphitheater. So that would have to be understood as well. Councillor Shankar mentioned the sidewalk that we discussed taking out. It's been blocked off for the last year, I believe, as well, because it's unsafe for walking. I know a tree was hit by a car there, or a truck, and had to be taken out, and I'm presuming the insurance for that car or truck provided for the planting of another tree in that area. We haven't done it, but I presume once we decide what we're doing with that sidewalk, it would be included. I'd be curious to know, now I realize, and I read the information here, and I thank Dana for providing it. It was quite detailed. I was also impressed by the little amount of money that would have to be invested to do this. But I was concerned with a sidewalk on either side of the street, because I know people are going to be walking on the street, but there's always people stepping up and down the sidewalk as well. The sidewalk on the west side of the street, when you go up near the building, is very warped with the washing out of the sand over the years. It really should be redone. And of course, the sidewalk on the east side, where the trees have upheaved it, that needs something done as well. Is there any plan to address those things if we were to go ahead with that this year?
I'll defer to Matthew and or Nathan to speak to those aspects.
I don't think in terms of in relation to this particular project, we weren't planning it. Certainly we take a look at all of our sidewalks on a yearly basis, and we're still trying to develop thoughts for the east sidewalk, given that the trees are not to come out, but at the same time, they're hampering our ability to have a sidewalk. So we would take a look at that. I think definitely this particular project would see the vast majority of the individuals using the street as opposed to either of those two sidewalk spaces. And so we don't see that it would exacerbate the current issue that's there.
No, and just to build on Matthew's comments, that was really our rationale there too, is we do recognize there are accessibility concerns. And our thought was that, during those key weekends, you're guaranteed to see some peaks in the foot traffic. And we thought that that would help address some of those accessibility issues that we're bound to see happening, especially during those high traffic periods. And I think it could be a great complement to O'Haffey's as well, and provide their patrons with more accessible options as well, while still ensuring that both still continue to function separately of each other.
Thanks, everyone. Lee, did you have a follow-up to that, or are you good?
No, are we going to vote on this tonight? Because I don't think we should be before the merchants have been contacted, and whether we find out that they're able to be accommodated or not. I don't think we should be passing something that could presumably take business or interfere with their business unless they are in agreement with it. So if we were planning on voting on this tonight, I would like to see it put off until, at the very least, the next meeting, and instruct staff to contact the appropriate business owners.
That is the motion, is to pass this evening. We could entertain a motion to defer if that's something you'd like to put forward.
Well, I think it would be only prudent to do that. If I happen to own O'Heapies, I wasn't be too happy if council just went ahead and passed the motion to close the street next to me without consultation. So I would propose that motion that we would defer it to our next meeting, and that staff be instructed to report back to council with their results, having contacted the business owners.
Okay, I'll defer to our clerk for the process on that. Lindsay, do you mind guiding us through the defer process? That takes precedent over the motion on the table, correct?
Yes, through you, Mayor Todd, as long as the mover and the seconder, which I have Councillor Shanker and Councillor Ostrander are in favor, that motion to defer can be voted on next.
Okay, so Councilor McConnell needs a seconder for the motion to defer, though, correct? That's the first.
Yes.
Is there a seconder for Councilor McConnell's motion to defer? Councilor Young?
Yes, I would agree. O'Heapies should be involved in this decision big time. I like the idea. I think it's worthwhile trying. Seems to me there's quite an elevation difference between King Street and Water Street. And I'm not sure how you're going to keep a beer bottle on a table with quite a slope on it. But anyway, those are small problems that can be sorted out. O'Heapies definitely should have input on this.
Okay, so you're willing to second the motion to defer. Any other comments on that motion to defer, specifically on that part of the item? So, Ms. Velkamp, I apologize. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. So just call the question now.
Yes, through you, Mayor Todd, we'll call the question. And then if, so I have that the motion be deferred to the council meeting of March 7th, and that staff report back to council following discussions with neighboring businesses.
Okay. Any comments on that before I do call the vote? Councilor Shanker?
I just want to ask Dana if that works for her timeline, March 7th, or does she need a decision tonight?
Thank you, Councillor Shankar. We fully recognize that those businesses are going to have to be a significant part of that conversation. And I think what we're really looking for tonight is to have that endorsement in principle from council for staff to be able to start exploring that and have those conversations, because we didn't really want to approach it the other way and go too far down the road of having conversations and creating potential interest on the part of the business community or public without getting at least some initial endorsement from council. So even if we could get that endorsement to proceed with the investigation and consultation required, we would absolutely be more than happy to do that and engage in those consultations and bring back a preliminary report for the March 7th council meeting to give council some indication.
Okay, can we just change the initial motion then that we approve preparations for the closure of Edward Street, King Street to Water, and that staff be directed, put this at the end, and that staff be directed to consult with all neighboring businesses and return to council with a follow-up report on whichever date we want to pick? Would that be acceptable to everyone? Lee, would that meet that would allow staff to go forward with the preparations, but they'd have to consult with the neighboring businesses before the final okay is given, which I think is what Dana's just mentioning.
I gotta be honest with you, I think this is putting the cart before the horse. I think staff should have consulted with especially O'Heapies before they brought this to council. And I hate to be critical, but that's simply the way I feel about it. Asking us to rubber stamp a proposal and then they go and say, well, council's going to do this. How do you feel about it? How can we work with you? I don't think that works. I think the idea is that investigating this, first of all, I think it's a great proposal. coming down Water Street and seeing a party street there on the weekend is great. I look forward to it. But I think it could have been done a little better. If staff had come tonight with the support of OHIFIs, then I would have been more happy to vote against it. I wouldn't have said anything, but that's not forthcoming, and I think due diligence should be done. So I believe my motion to defer should stand, and I support that.
Sure. Okay, any other comments on the motion to defer? With that, then I'll call the question on that motion to defer. All in favor? Opposed? I didn't see Councillor Jansman actually, so.
Sorry, Mayor Todd, I'm voting to defer it.
Okay, so then we are, was that 4-3? Did I get that correct? So we are deferring. Okay, so we'll defer that so staff can have those added communications till the next meeting, and we'll see if we can get some added information. I just had one quick comment on it overall. I like the idea of this. I'm still having a tough time with the location for a number of reasons. Councillor McConnell did nail a few of them. It's a very busy corner with some of the deliveries there. It's out of the way to an extent, although like I would definitely support this. And I had a discussion with Dana and Justin last week that really kind of brought me around on it. And I definitely try this, but I find it just, it's a great idea, but I wonder about the location. Might be even better on Center Street between King and Water to make that for that big focal point rather than something that's a little more off to the side. But this could really work as well if we've got other events going on around the clock tower and get a nice back and forth. So I'm willing to definitely do it, although I would have just given staff the okay tonight just to have those conversations just to get back to them. But anyways, no, this is a good solution. So we'll leave off on this tonight and we'll ask staff to bring this back with the results of some conversations with the neighboring businesses for our next meeting. Okay, so thanks very much. And we do have budget coming up. It's 12/7 and 12/8. Then we've got an in-camera. So we'll take our little recess now. We'll just take 10 minutes and we'll be back at about 7:47 or thereabouts to conclude tonight's meeting. So we'll call a recess now and have a quick break.